Hi, it's Kylie Coo. Welcome to my studio. And today I'm working in my Let It Go journal. First off, let me say thanks for all your support for last week's Let It Go video. Very much appreciate that. So I'd already gessoed over my page today. And it's funny because I had thought that this journal would be about those little niggly things that sometimes bother me. But I realised that just before I sat down and had decided what the focus of this page was going to be, that some of the stuff going on is actually quite big. And some of the stuff that I want to kind of work through and try and let go is quite major stuff, I guess, in my life. So this page, as it develops, I'll say a little bit about the background, but it takes quite an unexpected turn partway through. So you'll see here that I'm just doing a kind of naive type representation. And this big character here is the bully, more specifically the office bully. And this is about someone that I worked with a good number of years ago. But it's funny because his presence, his manner, all of that is such that even now I still have kind of dreams about him. Not good dreams, not horrific dreams, but not great either. And I know from time to time that I think about some of the stuff that went on and it still really bugs me, it really gets to me. So this person was fairly senior. But the thing about him was that he was a big character. I mean, don't get me wrong, he wasn't all bad. He could be quite charming, quite witty at times. But he had this kind of nasty streak to him that was simply bullying. And he bullied a lot of people, including his own bosses from time to time. And I had a bit of difficulty when I was kind of first working with him, in as much as he kind of tried this bullying with me. I did find a way to cope with that, because rather than reacting to it, I kind of stayed calm. Because I think he was often looking for a reaction that could then justify him, in a sense, being the way he was. But at one point it just got to the stage where I thought, no, I'm not going to put up with this. And I confronted him one day in a very calm manner and just said to him, look, the way you deal with people, the way you deal with me, you're actually causing me stress. And, I've worked with a lot of people throughout my career, and not once has anyone caused this kind of reaction in me, made me feel this way. And it was strange, his reaction, because he kind of said that he acted the way he acted because of his own insecurities. Now, I don't know if that was him then trying to justify why he acted the way he acted, or if he was actually an insecure person. But it kind of changed the dynamic between the two of us. It didn't stop him from trying to be a bully, but I kind of better understood. So I would never say that I got on well with him, but I managed to rub along, so to speak. The kind of downside of that, though, was that often people would look to me to deal with him if there were difficult things to be done. Whether or not it was something within my remit, I would end up having to deal with them. So that in itself was quite stressful. So the picture that I'm representing here is kind of him and me. And as I started this, I wanted to kind of get that representation of him being this kind of big bully. And I don't know if I said already, but he had a kind of big physical presence. I mean, I'm not terribly tall, but he was tall and he was broad. And at times he would even stand with his hands on his hips, almost as if to have more space, you know, and to feel even more dominating. And he had this big, booming voice. I mean, you often heard him before you saw him. So as I started to do this, I had this picture in my mind that here was him towering over me, and I had it in my mind that I was going to offer him up a flower in my hand. And so the picture kept developing, but suddenly his hands that were clenched started to become boxing gloves, because that's how it often felt. It felt like you were in a boxing match with him, both in terms of the tactics, in terms of having to duck and dive and avoid the punches, and just in terms of the way he acted. So I started to include details such as even the kind of colour of his shirt. You know, he often wore a grey-blue shirt. And here I'm kind of trying to represent that shadow that he cast, because it did feel like a shadow, you know, and it wasn't just me that felt like that. There was lots of people felt that way. Many people just did not like to deal with him at all. And why this was never addressed in the workplace, who knows? It wasn't that his seniors weren't aware of the impact that he had, but they just chose not to deal with it. And so everyone else had to get on with it. So yeah, just starting to draw in that kind of, or paint in that kind of looming shadow that was forever present. So for some reason here I started to draw, or paint I should say, sky, just putting this kind of blue-grey colour in again. But it started to feel wrong, and what comes next is that I start to add in dark clouds. So again, this is very much about the presence of this person and casting shadows and casting big black clouds over everything. And the picture, the painting, the journal page kept continuing this way. Next I was blocking in these, what I can only describe as big tall buildings. But again, they were tall, they were dark in colour, you know, as if there was no lights on in them, as if there was no light hitting them. It was just building up this presence of darkness, and with every brush stroke I could feel more and more of that negative feeling, or negative feelings, because it's a range of feelings, kind of coming back to me. You know, I was remembering more and more about the different things that had gone on. And at this point I take the paint to try and start to draw in his features now, you know, not trying to make it realistic in any way at all, but just starting to try and do something and put his hair in and whatnot. And then in a second you'll see I go to the little figure that I suppose represents me, and I start to do the same thing there. So it's starting to kind of make this even more real, not realistic, but just more real by actually adding features. Now, one of the things on the kind of arty side that I end up doing here, which I shouldn't do, is that I ended up I got so into this that I wasn't using a palette, and I ended up dipping my brush with one colour into the pot, so I was kind of mixing my colours in the pot, which is not a good thing to do. And here you'll see that I'm even painting in his red tie that he often wore. So it was almost as if, within this dark, gloomy picture that I was painting, there was anger there, in terms of his red boxing gloves and his red tie and his looming presence. And at this point I looked at it and I could feel all these feelings coming back to me, and this kind of negativity, so everything that I was hoping to try and let go of via this journal page was actually becoming deeper and deeper feelings, and the page wasn't doing it for me. So here's what happened. I took the gesso and I just started to block out parts of this. I just felt I don't want to see this page in this form anymore. I want to let go of this, but by continuing on the way I was continuing, I was not letting go of it. In fact, I was reliving it. So I started to block things out, and without thinking, this kind of flower shape started to emerge. And I spent quite a bit of time on this. The video's on kind of double speed, but it was almost starting to calm me a bit just by moving that brush around the page in a different fashion. So rather than getting down to that detail of the colour of his tie, etc., I was using the brush to smooth things out, to cover it up and to put it into the past. So I'm going to leave you for a few minutes just while I do this. This took a little while, as I say, and you'll just see me working away and starting to develop this type of stylised flower, I guess. So I'll come back on in a few moments. So I decided that I needed to put some words down on this page. It had changed significantly. I felt much happier with it. I can go back and look at this image and it won't cause me the negative feelings that would have been there had I left the page as was. So I journaled. I'm still standing. And I paused because I could hear him. I knew what I wanted to write, but I could hear him. But I went on. I was strong, and now I'm even stronger. I had it in my mind that he was saying, yes, but it's because I made you stronger. But I knew I just needed to let that go. He did not make me stronger. I made myself stronger and able to deal with him. And for that reason, I let go of that stuff. It doesn't serve me. It's in the past, and I let it go. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing the journey of this page. And, if you've got this far, then thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Bye for now.